Good day everyone and welcome to the first video of 2023. I have received a request of doing a tutorial on art concept design. So in today's video I'm going to show you how I design my concept ideas digitally using Adobe Photoshop. I am in no means an expert in Photoshop and this video will only be on how I taught myself to put references together. There are also plenty of other softwares that you can use as well. So first things first. Reference photos. Most of the time I get a bunch of my reference photos on Pinterest, like flowers, etc., and others I take myself. There are also many royalty-free sites where you can get or buy amazing references. I started with a new Photoshop document importing the references that I might use. I hide all the layers and images except for my main subject around which I will build my concept. I also like starting with a non-white background, and by using the paint bucket tool I quickly changed the color. The next step is removing the background of my images. My best friend is the auto selection tool. The quick selection tool pretty much do the same thing. By dragging you can also select your subject or object and remove it from the background. Then I right click and you can copy or cut. Just remember, if you copy that you delete the original layer. The auto selection tool does exactly what it says, it auto selects. So much easier, right? Now it's not perfect, but for me it doesn't really matter, it doesn't have to be, it's a quick way of putting together a concept which I will then paint on a canvas later. So using the auto selection tool, sometimes when the colors are the same it misses small parts, in which case I go back and use the quick selection tool to manually select them. So this image doesn't have like a lot of loose hair, but what I do with hair so it doesn't look like chopped off, after selecting I right click and then choose select and mask. This will open some settings. I then tick the smart radius block under the edge detection section and move the radius bar to my liking, not too much though. I then scroll down to the output settings and choose new layer with new layer mask. Now what this does, it saves your selection with a mask over the original image. So now I can go back manually using a black or white brush tool and add or remove parts, like on these edges. Over here I'm just finding a position for my main subject, keeping some sort of a composition in my mind. I now continue with my next image using the same process. I rarely use these blending modes in my actual concept, but I do love using them and playing around with them on the backgrounds, and I know of a lot of artists using them on a variety of different apps to get a very creative effect. Layering different images on top of each other using different blending modes can look pretty good as an end result. Okay, so I then keep adding my images, removing the backgrounds, playing a little, moving and rotating them, and see what works and what doesn't. After having a basic layout, it's time to work on the background. Now I like using the soft round brush tool, but in the settings I squeeze it a little into an oval form. I also turn down the flow a bit, it just gives it a nice drawing effect. So now by using my stylus pen, I start drawing in some random sort of abstract scribbles, adding a bit of color, etc. So like I said earlier, with the digital background I do a few layers on top of each other using different blending modes. Basically just going crazy until I get a result that I like, even though when I do the actual painting it's not going to look the same at all. This however gives me the idea of what colors work and if it should be more plain or a busy abstract background. But usually when I actually paint the background I just go with what I feel and not really looking at the concept at all. After having a decent background, I go back resizing and moving around my images a little. Now my main subject, the woman, is in black and white, which I don't want, so I want to give her a little color. So using my brush tool, I set the blending mode of the brush to color. I pick a random skin tint and then just paint over her skin area. I then also decided I wanted to add a few more things, so I went to Pinterest and add them in as well, including this little birdie. So I conclude my concept with some final shiftings, and this is my art concept design ready to be drawn on canvas. I hope you found this video a little helpful, maybe a little inspiring too. It's all about playing around and letting your creativeness flow. This is where you and your personality must shine. It should show something unique that only you can bring to the art world. If you made it all the way to here, I want to thank you so much for watching and for your support. I really appreciate it. Until next time.